in London this morning. We went up to London for the marathon, for GPA, Greenwich Palestine Action. Treating people properly. It is because as Irish people, we recognise colonialism when we see it. We know what Zionism is. It is another Western colonial imperialist project. And the people of Ireland have always stood with Palestine. We have always stood with Palestine, and we always will.
Stop! Let's just ignore this aggressive individual and get back to our peaceful protest!
You can find them on Instagram and follow the work that they do. So I'll pass you over to Hafsa, who's got a few words to share with you today.
Seeds of Gaza! Seeds of Gaza! Seeds of Gaza! Seeds of Gaza! As a community, we are all stood here today in utter shock and disbelief as to the brutal massacre that is currently taking place on the Gaza Strip. Almost 40,000 have been killed, over 70,000 injured, and over 2 million displaced. The cutting of food, water and electricity is not self-defense. The world sees Israeli actions for what they are: barbaric, hateful and cowardly war crimes. Yet our world leaders have turned a complete blind eye to the atrocities that are currently taking place in Gaza. UK government, shame on you! Not only have they been completely silent on the issue, they've been funding Israel with weapons and military technology and fully, actively facilitate a genocide. UK government, shame on you! Now we all know Israel wouldn't be able to carry out its cowardly war crimes if it didn't have the support of the UK and US government. So we are stood here telling our government that we are now done with them. They will not get our support and they will not give our votes in this year's general election, because we will never ever forget their silence and their complicity in the genocide. UK government, shame on you! Shame on you! Remember, every pound spent on a bomb to kill our innocent civilians in Gaza is £1 less spent on our NHS, our welfare system and our schools. We are stood here sending out a clear message to our political establishment that they, every single one of them, have Palestinian blood dripping on their hands. And we as a community, every single one of us stood here today, have a moral duty and an obligation to speak up for peace, because speaking up for peace is not an option. Remember, it's these same governments who have taught us about democracy, the same government who have taught us about freedom of speech and freedom of expression, yet they criminalize our peaceful protests for hate marches. They call us extremists, terrorist sympathizers, anti-Semites. But let me tell you who the real extremists are. Keir Starmer, Rishi Sunak, David Lammy, Michael Gove. UK government, wait and see. Palestine will be free. Rishi Sunak, wait and see. Palestine will be free. Keir Starmer, wait and see. Palestine will be free. Free, free. Palestine. Free, free. Palestine. We will change history even if they hate us. We will continue to speak up for humanity, the truth and justice. We will continue to amplify the voices of the Palestinians, and we will make sure this genocide ends with this generation. Because there's power in our voices, there's power in numbers, and the people united will never be defeated. The people united will never be defeated. The people united will never be defeated. Because our collective liberation is tied to a free Palestine, and we are stood here united and united as one community in solidarity for the Palestinians. And we will continue to raise our voices until our government calls out for an immediate ceasefire. We will continue to raise our voices until UK government ends arms trade with Israel. We will continue to raise our voices until our political leaders are held accountable for their complicity in the genocide. And we will continue to raise our voices until Netanyahu and the IDF team are put on trial for their war crimes. Now this is not just a chant, it's a promise. So raise your flags in the air and with your loudest voices, from the river to the sea! Palestine will be free! From the river to the sea! Palestine will be free! We will raise our voices louder than ever until there's an end to the apartheid, the end to the occupation, and until full justice is served to the Palestinians. Free! Free! Palestine! Free! Free! Palestine! Thank you for listening.
We got Tabby Khan. She's here from the Health Workers Collective. No, look, let's give her an even bigger hand than that.
Thank you guys, thank you. That was a very kind and very warm welcome. So, my name is Tabassum, or Tabby for short. I'm a clinical research scientist and I do work for various healthcare worker groups. And ultimately, all of our healthcare worker groups, Healthcare Workers for Palestine, Healthcare Workers for a Free Palestine, Healthcare Worker and Allies for Palestine, they're all trying to achieve health justice and liberation for all. Not just the Palestinians, Sudan, Congo, Yemen, Iraq, Syria, Kashmir, all people afflicted with health injustice across the world. Because we are all one race, regardless of skin tone, ethnic origin, sexual orientation, religion, all of these things. We are all human beings and we all deserve health care, health justice. We all bleed red when we cut our organs, okay? We are all having the same consistency of the organs. The only thing that differentiations is the receptors, which determines the blood groups that we are in. But let me tell you this now. If a white Zionist from Israel was dying of renal failure, they would happily accept an organ from a black Ethiopian, a Muslim Kashmiri, because they have no choice. because that organ is compatible. So let's not be hypocrites. We are all one race. So, we've come from London today to stand in solidarity and rally with the good people of Margate and demand that the UK government stop arming Israel. We demand that they impose an arms and energy embargo. The British voices that are calling for an end to genocide reach as far and wide across the British Isles, from London to Manchester to Birmingham to Scotland, Ireland, Wales and Margate. We've seen the complete collapse of the health system in Gaza. We're now 7 months into this horrific Holocaust, and let's not be confused or delusional. This is a Holocaust unfolding in front of our eyes, across our TV screens, all across social media. It is a Holocaust. More than 40,000 people have been killed, 23,000 being children, 37 hospitals flattened to the ground. Now let me put that into context for you. 23 babies and children is approximately 63 primary schools full of children. 63 primary schools killed in less than 7 months. Yet the UK government is still using our hard-earned taxes to fund this genocidal Holocaust. We do not want our hard-earned taxes to be spent on bullets pumped in babies and bombs dropped on hospitals. We all saw the destruction of Al-Shifa Medical Complex. We heard the horror stories that emerged. We saw doctors executed in front of their patients. Their only crime was trying to save these patients' lives, refusing to leave their bedside. Dr. Hammam Allah was a surgeon at Al-Shifa Hospital. When he was being forced to leave, he replied, "If I go, who will treat my patients?" He, along with his family, were murdered in an Israeli airstrike. We saw the Israeli war machine herd these medics, doctors, nurses, scientists, physios, paramedics, like cattle into the back of a pickup truck, zip-tied and blindfolded, treated like animals, only for us to later discover and hear that they had been executed like lambs to the slaughter. These people are human beings, dignified medics, professionals who dedicated their lives to serving humanity. Healthcare workers are humanitarians, and the Israeli war machine has made it an executable offense to be a humanitarian. The execution of 3 British aid workers and the World Kitchen aid workers is just another example of these horrific war crimes. We all have seen the countless horrific war crimes committed by the Israeli occupation forces. The decimation of homes, mosques, churches, the complete destruction of hospitals, the collapse of the healthcare system, the incineration of people alive in their homes near Al-Shifa, the accounts of rape, torture, and the execution of doctors and patients. And guess what? The Israeli war machine are carrying out all these atrocities on the British taxpayers' dime, our hard-earned taxes. How can we be silent and allow our government to make us all complicit? As healthcare workers and humanitarians and citizens of this world, we live every day working for the preservation of human life, and we cannot sit silently while these atrocities are being committed. We have a duty to fight for health justice for all. According to international law, Article 18 of the 4th Geneva Convention, bombing hospitals and schools is a war crime, second in heinous severity to genocide, and the Israeli war machine is committing both. On the 19th of October 2023, Rishi Sunak shook hands with Netanyahu, and he said, "I know that you are taking every precaution to avoid harming civilians." Now, what have we seen? 7 months later, 100,000 dead, injured and imprisoned. Sunak and the UK government continues to support the Israeli war machine, despite Israel being on trial for genocide in the International Court of Justice. Israel has embarked on the most brutal massacre in living history. There has never been such a cruel war like this in any of our lives. A war where civilians are deliberately targeted. A war where hospitals are deliberately targeted. Where the population is deliberately starved. Where medicines, baby formula, warm clothes, sanitation products are being blockaded from entering Gaza. A war where the Israelis mock the suffering of their victims in public for all of us to see. A war where the UK government continues to support this. We saw Keir Starmer, a so-called humanitarian lawyer, come on our television screens and say that it is justified to cut off fuel, water and food to 2.2 million people in Gaza. At least 2 children per day have had their limbs amputated. At one point, it was 10 children a day, many of them without anesthesia, many of them dying of septic shock. We've seen the video of the surgeon having to amputate his own daughter's leg on his kitchen table because his home was surrounded by tanks and all the hospitals in northern Gaza were reduced to rubble. The same bombs that are being used to decimate all the infrastructure in Gaza are being paid for by us, the British taxpayer. Now, many of you know that this genocide is being carried out with multiple strategies, but I'll outline a few. The genocide is being enforced by non-stop indiscriminate bombing, which is going to result in the complete destruction of all infrastructure in Gaza. We've already seen this. It's completely flattened to the ground. There is no healthcare system. There is no education system. The collapse of the healthcare system means that injured people cannot be treated. It means that pregnant women cannot give birth safely. It means that premature babies do not reach mature age. We've also seen ecocide, which is the complete destruction of agriculture in Gaza. That means that they cannot farm or grow any crops. They're completely reliant on aid being dropped in. And we know that no food trucks are coming into Gaza. If any, just a few 10, which is not even enough to suffice to feed a fraction of the starving population of Gaza. This combined with the man-made famine in just 7 months. We're seeing that the people of Gaza are on the brink of starvation. So ecocide is used to perpetuate this genocide along with the famine. And then we're seeing educide, which is the complete destruction of the education system. They are using educide to suppress the Palestinian people from having any sort of economy, any sort of progression in the future. Did you know that Palestine had one of the highest literacy rates in the world? Over 96% of people in in Palestine were able to read and had degrees. These are very highly educated people. They know that the propagation of their line is dependent on them being self-sustaining, dependent on them being educated. They know that it's up to them to lift themselves up, because the world is silent and the world is watching on, allowing this to take place. I quote the World Health Organization: hunger is ravaging in Gaza. An unprecedented 93% of the population is facing crisis levels of hunger with insufficient food. The UN Secretary General said 4 out of the 5 hungriest people anywhere in the world are in Gaza. We're seeing videos of children arriving to the hospitals like skeletons, dying of starvation. Babies don't even have the energy to cry. They are emaciated, dying slowly and quietly while the world looks on and does nothing. And while our taxpayers' money, while our hard-earned tax enables this to occur. Over 80% of the British public want the UK government to stop arming Israel, to stop spending our hard-earned taxes funding the Israeli war machine. Our money should be invested in the crippling public services like the NHS or housing and social care, not a war we have no business being in. The unelected government led by Rishi Sunak are supposed to represent the people, but they are acting to support their own agenda, which is not representative or in the best interest of the British people. British taxes, British labour, British soldiers' lives should not be wasted on perpetuating a genocidal Holocaust. But we are represented by an unelected, greedy politician, where 40,000 dead is a small price to pay for their ulterior motives. Shame! The UK government has made us all unwilling participants in this genocidal Holocaust by continuing to fund and arm Israel and their genocidal intents. Let's not forget, it's election year. We won't be silent, and we will keep taking to the streets week after week, day after day, until our demands are met. Repeat after me. We want boycotts. We want action.
We want boycotts. We want action.
Arms embargo, criminal sanctions.
Arms embargo, criminal sanctions.
We want boycotts. We want action.
We want boycotts. We want action.
Arms embargo, criminal sanctions.
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 What do we want?
Arms embargo.
He is an Oxford graduate, and he is a teacher. So he has got a lot to teach us today. Thank you.
There you go. Hi everyone, I'm Tom, and I'm a primary school French teacher. Thank you. I'm here today because I stand both firmly and staunchly against the racist, nationalist movement of Zionism and in solidarity with the Palestinians. Palestine has had a proverbial boot on its neck for 76 years by the terrorist ethno-fascist state of Israel. And I am here today to say on behalf of myself, the healthcare bloc and the whole of Margate, enough is enough. Marching in solidarity with the Palestinians is extremely important to me because they are an oppressed people who have been oppressed through means of apartheid, illegal occupation and genocide for the past 76 years. This cannot go on. The Israeli occupation is deeply illegal, apartheid is a crime against humanity, and genocide is beyond unforgivable. My demands from the UK government are as follows. Number 1, stop arming Israel immediately. The UK is in enormous breach of international law through its continuing armament of the fascist state of Israel. So international law must be respected. Presently, international law is being pummeled into the rubble of Gaza by terrorist Israel, with full backing from our criminal government. Number 2, I demand that the UK government cuts all economic, diplomatic and political ties with the racist, fascist state of Israel. And end the glaring double standards. The UK cannot, in good faith, condemn Russia for its interference and aggression in and with Ukraine, yet allow Israel's Gaza genocide to go ahead unabated. This is absolutely unforgivable and disgusting. Number 3, I demand that the UK government calls for an immediate permanent ceasefire, an end to the illegal Israeli occupation of Palestine, the dismantling of the illegal settlements in the occupied West Bank, and demand that the indigenous Palestinians have the indigenous right of return to their native homelands. Frankly, it strikes me as nothing short of outrageous that a white girl from California can emigrate to occupied Palestine and steal a native Palestinian person's house, yet indigenous Palestinians cannot return to their indigenous homeland. Shame. Shame! Enough is enough. Even when a ceasefire is called, we must not stop until Palestine is fully free. A ceasefire is just the beginning. Thank you. Free, free! Palestine! Yo, yeah! Yo, yeah! Yo, yeah! Yo, yeah! ولا تهارتنا! Yo, yeah! نصبوا تهارتنا! Yo, yeah! إيجي الخبشات! Yo, yeah! أخذوا هارتنا! Yo, yeah! كسروا لهبتنا! Yo, yeah! رفضنا نهاجر! Yo, yeah! كلوا الوامر! Yo, yeah! ممنوع نشكي! Yo, yeah! ممنوع نحكي! Yo, yeah! طب نسكن ليش؟ Yo, yeah! لقمة العيش! Yo, yeah! يلا أنا أبوها! Yo, yeah! علي جابوها! Yo, yeah! يلا أنا أبوها! حرية حرية! حرية حرية! حرية حرية! فلسطين عربية! فلسطين عربية! من المية للمية!
Let's have a big hand for all the healthcare workers that are coming out for Palestine. Okay, we got loads of people to get through, so our next speaker is a Palestinian activist, Faris Amir. Give him a big hand.
Bismillah. First I want to start off by thanking Thanit for Palestine and thanking Margate, the people of Margate, the people who came from all over the place to come here in solidarity with the Palestinians of Gaza. Make some noise! It's been almost 7 months since the genocide started, but this did not start on the 7th of October. And I know all of you know a lot about the history of Palestine, but I'd like to touch on a few things. My grandmother was forced from her home in Bir al-Saba in 1948. And she left to Hebron. Now she attempted to return and found that her home was occupied by Zionist immigrants. And she begged and she pleaded to go inside one more time to see her childhood home, and they refused. And she died later in Hebron, not having seen her home again. This is the story of so many Palestinians. This is the reason why we protest as Palestinians. This is why in 2018 the people of Gaza, a large majority of whom are descended from those who were forced from their homes in 1948, marched to return. And how did Israel greet them? They shot at them. They targeted medics. They targeted journalists. They targeted disabled people. And this is the bloody history of colonialism. Zionist colonialism didn't begin in 1948, by the way, it began before. I want to touch on a few things. Firstly, people pretend, Zionists pretend, that Israel is not an apartheid state. They pretend, even the most liberal of them pretend maybe that a few people living in the West Bank, maybe they're under apartheid for some people. But the truth is, Israel has been an apartheid state since its inception. Since 1948. Did you know that until 1966, the Palestinians were under martial law? And then Israel colonized the West Bank and Gaza, and they occupied, and they control everything. And over 5 million Palestinians are not allowed to vote over the people that rule them. This is our experience. And the Zionist project, I want to touch on the Western role in the Zionist project. I want to touch on the reason why, after 7 months, the Western world has not stopped. Israel has not stopped sending money, has not stopped sending bombs. It's not because their hands are tied. It's not because their hearts are bleeding, they wish they could do something, but they can't. It's because they believe it's in their interest for the Palestinians to be genocided. They believe that Israel must restore deterrence to support Western empire, and they don't care how many Palestinians are killed in the process. We saw that the only time they showed a little restraint is when 7 aid workers who were not Palestinians were killed by the Zionist entity. So their hands are not tied. You know, they don't want, they don't feel like they need to, because they believe it's in their interest, because Israel is an outpost for Western colonialism, and they believe that their interests in the region and their interests overall cannot be protected unless Israel kills as many Palestinians needed to make sure the Arabs know, to make sure the Arabs know their place, to know that freedom for them is not important, to know that they will take the crumbs that they are given by the West and they will shut up. And that is why the genocide is ongoing, and that is why they don't lift a finger, and that is why when in the United Nations Security Council they call for the recognition of a Palestinian state, the US can vote against it and then claim they want a Palestinian state. It's all lies. It's all lies. And that's something that we must continue to call out. What is our goal in all of this? I'll tell you what our goal is, or what our role is. You people here, coming out of your way on a Sunday when you could be resting at home, resting with your families, or going for a day out, watching a movie, going to restaurants, your persistence, your solidarity, your pressure is the reason why Israel can't kill more Palestinians. It is you who force their hand. It is your action that forces the United Kingdom and the United States to call for a ceasefire. So we know this is our role. We must continue to put pressure. We must continue to put pressure on our governments, on the Western world, and on Israel. Where does this end? Where does this end? Does this end with a ceasefire? No! We must, even after a ceasefire occurs, we must continue to put pressure. We must continue to call for the end of apartheid. We must continue to call for the freedom for the Palestinians. We must continue to call for justice for all of humanity, and this starts with the Palestinian cause. Now, I can't speak on behalf of all Palestinians, but I do speak to relatives in Palestine, in Gaza, in the West Bank, and they hear you loud and clear. They see what you do, and it keeps them going. Knowing that you have their back keeps the Palestinians steadfast.
Always.
They see the love and the support from all over the world, and they know that they are not alone, and they will continue to struggle for a free Palestine, knowing that you're there right with them.
We love Palestine!
I want to thank you all again, and I want us to remember that this is not over. When the Algerians fought off French colonization, millions of Algerians sacrificed their lives for that cause, and Algeria was freed. The killing, the suffering that we see today doesn't mean that this is over. It doesn't mean that we are destined to suffer for eternity, but we must be prepared to sacrifice, and we must know that at the end of this sacrifice, we will see in our lifetimes a free Palestine! From the river to the sea!
Palestine will be free!
From the river to the sea!
Palestine will be free!
From the sea to the river!
Palestine will live forever!
From the sea to the river!
Palestine will live forever!
In our thousands, in our millions!
We are all Palestinians!
In our thousands, in our millions!
We are all Palestinians!
In our millions, in our billions!
We are all Palestinians!
In our millions, in our billions!
We are all Palestinians!
Thank you very much for Free Palestine.
Next up is Sophia Beach. Sophia Beach, always out there on the street fighting for Palestine. She's a Jewish anti-Zionist activist. And she's always where the action is. So let's give her a big hand. Sophia Beach.
Free! From the river to the sea!
Palestine will be free!
From the sea to the river!
Palestine will live forever!
Thank you. Look, I just want to start by saying it's my first time in Margate. I first met Fan It for Palestine, so a big thank you for having this rally. I first met them on a demo down in London. I've never seen so many people bring such an amazing energy, and it's definitely replicated here. I just want to start by saying really that as somebody whose family were held in the Warsaw Ghetto, whose great-grandma and aunt and uncle were murdered in the Nazi death camps of Treblinka, and whose grandfather was the sole survivor of his family when he was liberated from Theresienstadt, that there is not a single action, aim or essence of the apartheid genocidal regime in Israel that represents me as a British Jew. Not a single thing. Not a single thing. And I think we have to start by saying that it's been amazing that just as you were saying, you took the words right out of my mouth from so many things, that actually this genocide did not begin on the 7th of October. We have seen not even just the last 76 years of the most brutal racism and apartheid being waged against the Palestinians, but actually ever since Zionism was thought up of as a political concept in the late 1800s, from 1890, Zionism has always been a colonial project. It was never about escaping anti-Semitism. It was never about fighting against racism. And there's always been Jews like myself, who I am proud to stand in a tradition with, who have fought against Zionism and said not in our name. And look, I think it's right that not only have we seen 6 months of the most brutal and horrific scenes coming out of Gaza and the West Bank, but we've also seen 6 months of the most amazing resistance worldwide. Never have we seen a movement here in Britain that has sustained itself for 6 months, week in, week out, protesting. I'm proud to say that I've been on every single one of the 11 national demonstrations that are taking place in London. And never have we got below 100,000 people. And like, that is the kind of movement, that is the kind of politics that can actually bring about a free Palestine. And I think
I think it's right we have to talk about, well, what is a free Palestine that we want to see? Because yes, of course we want to see a ceasefire. Of course we want to see the bombs ending. We want to see an end to the brutality that is the Israeli state. But actually, I want to see much more than a ceasefire. I don't just want this war to end and then for us to go back to some sort of normality, as if there is any kind of normality for the Palestinians living within Palestine 48 or in Israel's prison walls. Really what I want to see is, I want to see justice. I want to see victory to the Palestinians. I want to see a free Palestine. And really, like, what does that free Palestine actually look like? For me, I think it is a single, secular, democratic state in which Jews, Palestinians, Christians, Muslims, atheists, whoever wants to live there can live there within peace, with equal democratic rights. But not just that, not only is it a single state, but we will never get justice until the some 8 million Palestinian diaspora that there are across the globe have the right to return home to their homeland that they were forced off of from 1948. Every single Palestinian gets the right to return home. It is a joke that because my grandfather survived the Holocaust, if I wanted to, I could claim for Israeli citizenship tomorrow. Look, albeit I don't think the Israeli government would give me an Israeli passport, considering I've spoken so many times calling for the destruction of the Israeli state. But if I wanted to, I could. And I have Palestinian brothers and sisters who still have the keys to their grandparents' houses and they can never return home. Shame. And that's the kind of thing, absolute shame. So then, if that's the kind of free Palestine that we want to see, what are the kind of politics that we have to fight for in order to get there? Firstly, we have to say that the Palestinians are brave and they are mighty. For 76 years, they have never submitted to the Israeli repression that they face. And actually, Palestinians are right to resist Israeli apartheid by whatever means they choose. Whatever means they choose. I say victory to the resistance, victory to the Intifada. Palestinians are right to fight back, and they should do every single time. Down with the colonial regime. But then that means here in Britain, well, what do we have to do? Well, look, I don't think I have to win over the crowd here by saying, like, we're not going to get a free Palestine by relying on the ruling class or the leaders. Joe Biden, Rishi Sunak, Keir Starmer, fucking David Cameron, all of them are lined up with the Israeli regime. Why? Because Israel doesn't exist in a vacuum. We created Israel when it was the Balfour Declaration in 1917. British colonialism is what made Israel, and it's what funds Israel today when we make our bombs and Elbit or BAE systems, which are being used to bomb Palestinian children. So then, what is the kind of I think resistance or movement that we can actually try and win a free Palestine? It's about looking at like the ordinary resistance on the ground. Yes, in Palestine, but to be honest, no matter how brave or how mighty the Palestinians are, I don't think they'll win alone. Because if you look at the size or the might of the Israeli state, they are backed by the biggest imperial superpower, which is the United States. We have to say that we want to see that resistance spread. Go much further, go far beyond just the borders of Israel. It's the people of Egypt, Sudan, Jordan, Libya, Syria, Turkey, and so on. If we actually see a proper, an uprising in this sort of sense, this is the kind of movement that I think could really win a free Palestine. And I think that's something that everybody wants to see. And I think we have to be brave and be bold about it. Like, one of the best things I think about the Palestinian movement since the 7th of October is that now we can say that a two-state solution is bullshit. No one wants to see two states. We want to see a free Palestine, and it's a normalcy to say that there is no place in a civilized world in which a state like Israel can exist. We want to see down with the Israeli apartheid regime and liberate Palestine and all occupied people across the world. And that means taking on our own regime and our own state. From Sunak to Starmer, both of them represent a regime and a kind of system that wants to keep us down. Don't think that they won't do what they're doing to Palestinians to us if we were able to fight back. We have to say get rid of a lot of them, and that's the kind of movement that we can do. Like, I think people have forgotten, but when 1 million people marched on the streets of London, we got rid of Suella Braverman, one of the worst, most toxic Tory fucking ministers that there have been. She didn't resign, we got rid of her because we marched on the streets. And actually, look, when Suella Braverman resigned, it made me happy, it didn't make me content. I won't be content until every single lying Tory bastard is gone from the House of Commons. Sunak, forgetting I can't even remember all of them, but you can chuck the Labour Party in with a lot of them. Shame on so-called Sir Keir Starmer. He says now Keir Starmer wants a ceasefire. Why? Oh, because he says it's gone too far. I don't think so. Keir Starmer doesn't care about the 35,000 dead Palestinians. He cares about the 23,000 people who've left the fucking Labour Party. That's what it is, really. I say everyone leave the Labour Party. No vote, no ceasefire, no vote. And we say let's take it to a lot of them. And look, I just want to finish really by saying that I became radicalised because I learned the lessons of brutality when I spoke to my grandfather when he spoke about what he experienced in the Holocaust. And he told me two things. Firstly, the words of Margate, who is a Jewish man who survived. He was the last survivor of the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising in 1943. And Margate said, to be a Jew is to be on the side of the oppressed. That is why I stand with the Palestinians and every single oppressed people across the world. But secondly, my grandfather taught me the lessons of never again. We say never again when it comes to the Holocaust, but never again is not for only Jews. Never again is for every single person across the globe. Never again should anyone experience such racism, such genocide, and such brutality. That is why I stand with the Palestinians. It's why I fight against the system every single day. Israel is not an aberration of the system. It is a result of a system that cares more about cargo ships than it does about dead children's bodies. It's a system we have to get rid of completely, and it's a system we have to fight against. I want to see freedom for everyone, from Kashmir to Kurdistan, and from the River Jordan to the Mediterranean Sea in Palestine. So I'll leave it there. Free, free. Free, free. From the river to the sea. From the sea to the river. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming out. It's been crazy.
Thank you, first of all. No justice! No peace! Thank you, yeah. Yes. Right. Obviously, this tragedy, I say tragedy, it's man-made tragedy. It's a genocide is what it is absolutely ridiculous, and it's been going on for 76 years. As the speakers have said, they're much more well-versed on the exact facts than I am. Thank you to the previous speakers on that. As well. So thank you guys all for coming out today. It means a lot. Yeah, it means a lot. My granddad, there was an Indian genocide at the hands of Winston Churchill during the Second World War. My granddad lived through it. He passed this week. And he was always a staunch supporter of Palestine. He was the first person that told me about their struggles. Yeah, so it's very real. This is very real. And the first piece, I'm not going to ramble too much. The first piece I'm going to read today the title is derived from a Palestinian saying, and the Palestinian saying is, "They who write the story control the world." And this is we must tell the story. I am learning Arabic. Halal, scimitar sky. It has happened before. 76 years they've called it war. 76 years, senseless killing, colonists cool, taking land, resettlement sore on tongues who've asked for nothing more than a place to be warm. We don't see the cost of war, limbs hung from walls, still swinging from a force that parted person like Red Sea. See, Moses marched his people free, now look what they do for religion supposedly. Suppose we did the same, claimed wholly any territory we wanted to live in or had oil reserves. American policy, Western colony to dredge grave dirt for bone meal, unseal hallowed artifacts for museum pedagogy. No, we see the cost of war. We count it in vanilla lattes or chicken nuggets by the 4 when we fill up our cars and yawns. Another morning commute, dropping bombs from a fume. Fill a tank, a child's tomb. Sip blood of a people's doom. Hold voice, we presume terrorists against a nation whom want peace. Yeah, right. Is peace eviscerating people who can't fight? Is peace cutting off electricity and hospital light? Is peace starving a nation in spite of world-leading military might? Injustice obvious in stolen land. I am learning Arabic because it's happening now like planned. Libya, Syria, Iran, they'll kill off anyone who won't follow their demand. When I pray, I stand ready to unclasp hand. They put this fury between my teeth and expect me not to bite chunks off their belief that one day's grief is greater than 76 years of unrelief. Please, it was never about hostages, just like it was never about safety, just like it was never about retaliation, just like how it's always been about supremacy. So I am learning Arabic because it happens to my people. 5 million dead at the hands of war hero Churchill, war hero Netanyahu. Is that how history will remember it? I refuse, so I am learning Arabic. I will make it habit. I'll shell every seed from pomegranate, and when it comes time to eat, I'll spit it in the face of every politician that's ever said have at it. It's self-defense after all. I saw those children running to school. What if they'd had rifles in the swimming pool? What if they had grenades in the sports hall? Best be safe and kill them all. The truth of a matter is the West will kill you if you're brown. Look at Ukraine. All round nations stood and said they should hold their ground. It's theirs after all. Soviet claim dissolved 40 years ago, but Israel can have their land some 3,000 years in lieu. So I'm learning Arabic to flip the script on its head and say loud, they who tell the story rule the world. I think it's so important that we don't forget the inception of Israel. Israel was a state created by British colonialism, and I ask, under whose authority did the British give them that land? Under whose authority did they establish this state? Okay, this genocidal regime. It all comes from the West, and the West are very well versed in genocide. We can see it throughout the history books from as far back as you can go. I think it's funny. We always go, oh, that genocide 100 years ago, that was terrible. We in our present knowledge could never make that mistake. We in our present knowledge could never do that. And then they do it, and then they say it's not a genocide, and they look at you like you're crazy when you try and call it out. I think it's so important that we call it out every day, every week, every month, every year, and we continue to do so. And we continue to do so until a secular, non-two-state solution is achieved, and that might be a long time away, but we got to keep fighting for it. You know, like it's not. There's no messing about. The next one I'm going to do, I wrote before October 7th, and it's about the corruption of the Tory government, the Tories that are propping up Israel, obviously. Self-image flickering like Narcissus bickering, his echo shimmering. I want to be just like all the things I'm burying. This is burial ground, temple consecrated, the marriage of heaven and hell consummated. Reading Blake, I was always astonished on how he concentrated on love, despite his own life being devastated by socio-political nothings and a sea of fuckwits who aren't fit to govern the people we're obstructing. The peace in the process. Don't leave us alone unless you're happy to live under a boot or swim in a sea of cess there, playing us for checkers whilst they play chess. Yeah, I wrote a few poems about being blue, but now I'm seeing red. It's almost as if they want us dead, don't care so long as they can get richer. I don't know how it doesn't sit in their stomachs like lead. They're as bad as each other. They'll have to come and take my breath. Oh, did I say Blake? No, I'm talking Rishi Sunak gate. 4th unelected Tory PM to date. And all the while they're just peddling hate. Dodgy deals ain't even trying to hide. Like, if I scratch your ass, will you lick mine? British people have this tendency to say it's fine, but it's not been fine since Thatcher closed the mines. This neoliberal mindset thrashing us blind. See, the water I'm crying, I'm turning to wine, and you can call it complaint, but I just think it's time to smash the system gone frail. Hell in a new movement where we're all free, sail to brighter shores lit by lamps, not candles. Braille, you feel me? Free Palestine! Free Palestine! From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. From the sea to the river, Palestine will live forever. You guys have been amazing, just coming out on using your Sunday, coming out, standing in the cold, showing solidarity. I just can't explain how happy it makes me just seeing everybody come together. You know, it reminds me that resistance is strong, and
I'm just so proud to be from Margate. I've grown up here, and it's just beautiful to see marches taking place in towns like Margate. It just shows the vast majority are standing on the right side of humanity, and I made a decision with my music to do the same thing, and some say I face backlash, but here we are, and I'm having more success now, so I encourage all artists to come out and speak about what they don't want us to speak about. Free, free! Free, free! Recently I dropped a new song. I'm actually a little bit embarrassed of the title because the title's Letter to the IDF, and I don't believe they should be called the IDF because they're not defending anything. We call them the IOF, but in this song, the song is called Letter to the IDF. The song was deliberately removed from all music platforms. I wasn't able to share it, I wasn't able to post it, and this was for apparent political content. Now bear in mind, a month before this happened, I released another song. It was called Slave Mind. It was about politics, but not necessarily directly about Gaza. But this song was directly about Gaza, but this was too political, so that just sent my mind a little bit. How is this too? So they wouldn't let it on. Eventually we had to fight, we had to fight, we had to fight. Eventually we got the song out there. But it just shows the bias in the industry. It shows the bias. It shows how much of an effect our music has, our voices have, our boycotts have, our resistance has, our tweets have, our little stand-up protests. It might seem small, but every small step calculates towards the bigger movement. And we are the big movement. We are the freedom for Gaza. We are exercising our freedom for them. We are sacrificing our freedom for them. And I, for one, will sacrifice life, limb, career to save the thousands of children we have seen murdered and massacred by the Israeli terror state. But look, we've had some great speakers. I'm not the greatest speaker. I'm actually a very good rapper though. So we're going to perform some music for you guys, and then everyone can get themselves home. So upon embarking on this journey, I had my song removed. Like I said, I had my song blocked, and then I just thought, you know what? Why not just take it to another level? If they thought this was bad, I'm going to up it and up it with some more rap. So look, I'm not going to say these are the views of the Palestinian resistance, but these are the views of Mike Righteous, okay? So you might not have to agree with the message. This song is out right now. It's called Bullet. Okay, so yeah, this is a message to Rishi Sunak. Apparently in this country, you have to be paralysed from the neck down to receive any form of benefit these days, any form of help, any form of support. But we can give billions and billions and billions to Ukraine and Israel to fund their massacres, fund their genocides in Israel. It's completely disgusting. We should be funding our country, we should be supporting our people, and we should be standing up against all injustice anywhere. So this one I would like to send as a message to our friend Rishi Sunak, and I want to start a little chant, okay? I want to get really, really funny with it. I want to say, Rishi Sunak's a waste man. Rishi Sunak's a waste man. Rishi Sunak's a waste man. Louder! Rishi Sunak's a waste man. And again, Rishi Sunak's a waste man. Rishi Sunak's a waste man. Okay, turn the music up a little bit for me. Margate, thank you for coming out. You guys are the best. And here's how the song goes. Pick up the beat, start bullying it. I want to see Rishi Sunak with a bullet in him. Not saying I'm the one that's going to put it in him. All I'm saying, if you did it, good riddance, innit? Pick up the pad, start cooking with it. I pick up the pad, start cooking with it. It's no wonder why I'm getting villainized. I look in your eyes and all I see is, I'll pick up the rhythm, give it a send-off. I want to see a politician with his head gone. Outside number 10 with 10 bombs. Make everything turn red light. Leon Edwards with the headshot. I ain't a terrorist, but guess what? This song's called If I Was a Terrorist, and if I was, let me tell you my next plot. I want to take out everyone, end off, maybe even every animal except dogs. Get rid of everybody, maybe you'll accept God. Should probably get locked for the bodies that my pen's got. Special ops can't stop me when I send shots. Got IDF in my inbox, forget ops. You get boxed and bagged up and send shots. My biggest flex is I'm the most slept on. Woo! There's a line between life and death when you connect dots. What? Trying to get my pension, go Jamaica and grow dreadlocks. Life's a game, I play one like Xbox. Forget coin like I'm Sonic the Hedgehog. Mike, I'm the one to say stuff they censor. Why am I the one to say stuff they censor? I sent for them and they just surrender. Then forget names, my brain's got dementia. Forgot to mention, I'm demented. Wanna see a politician's head with a dent in. Can't take back what I said cause I meant it. Wanna see Rishi take a bullet for his brethren. Just to see him trembling, just to see him firm it. Just to see if he can act like a real person. Pick up the beat, start bullying it. I wanna see Rishi Sunak with a bullet in him. Not saying I'm the one that's gonna put it in him. All I'm saying, if it did it, good riddance in it. Pick up the pad, start cooking with it. Pick up the pad, start cooking with it. It's no wonder why I'm getting villainized. Like Rishi Sunak. So, oh, Rishi Sunak. Louder. One more time, loud as you can. Rishi Sunak's a waste man. Rishi Sunak's a waste man. Hey, Rishi Sunak's a waste man. Hey. Thank you. Thank you very much, Margate. Make some noise for yourselves. Make some noise for the resistance. Make some noise for Palestine. Thank you. We're gonna get into another one right now. You won't find this one online because like my last, they blocked it. You won't find it on Instagram or anything like that, but I encourage people to go and support these kinds of songs, so it encourages other artists to do the same. This song's called Cease Fire.
Cease fire! Cease fire now! Cease fire now!
Cease fire? Yeah. From the river to the sea, give a ceasefire. Keep demanding it to the parliament, meet your desires. No peace till these corrupt officials have retired. Burn your fatigues, fire and Bushnell was a reminder. But these bleak times are kinda simple to define it. Man on fire screaming, free Palestine. Ever since then these lies of the BBC have been quiet. These colluded media groups been biased. As long as we put murders behind it, can't deny it. Deep dive into that sea of secrets they keep hiding. It's like the devil's in plain sight, we're in terrible disguises. No peace till every land is free from these tyrants. Cease fire now, sing it.
Cease fire now!
And I said, cease fire now, louder.
Cease fire now!
One more time now, cease fire now. Ceasefire now, you hear what I just said? Hospitals need anesthetic, but there's none left. The only option is death or tear off your son's leg. Imagine seeing everyone you love dead, this heartbreaking destruction. If your bombs and rocket missiles don't get them, then starvation will crush them. So they block aid from getting inside the country. Aid's airdrop, the crowd flock because they're hungry. Some of them just trying to get their dying child some bread. All they get is massacred by IDF gunmen. These cowards caught a crowd of civilians, killing hundreds. Flowers smothered the ground, intensifying the bloodshed. What should have been food, but now it's just another substance. In the occupation's eyes, it's just another success. So many innocent lives will see another sunset. Is it a genocide? It's a genocide. Tell them every time as it finally sunk in. Doesn't our government understand we're upset? Our tax money funds it. You condemn us for protesting injustice? Go and get your injunctions. No one said we're your subjects. Drum it in your dumb head. Can't police us with your policies. Margate can't trust the politician as far as I could punch them. Efrisy Sunak, you don't represent the public. You just want to protect the usual suspects. You don't want a million marching through London. News just in, Gaza is a dungeon. Even with a ceasefire now, how will Palestine function? Humanity is watching, mankind's disgusted. Even your own troops can't stand by with hush lips. Aaron Bushnell didn't die from mental illness, nor did he suffer spontaneous combustion. You a war criminal weighing up for discussion. Send them to the Hague to pay for their corruption is shameless. Lock them in cages for Julian Assange. And the pages he published of Palestine's free, we ain't changing. Sing it! Cease fire now! What?
Cease fire now!
Louder!
Cease fire now!
Louder!
Cease fire now!
One more time now! Cease fire now! Yeah! Cease fire now! Okay! Cease fire now!
Cease fire now!
I can't understand the minds of violent men with no value for life or death. That's why I write with tears in my eyes and a fire inside my pen. I said, I can't understand the minds of violent men with no value for life or death. That's why I write again. That's why I write again. Margate, thank you guys for coming out. Anytime you can, exercise your freedoms. For those who need it most, it's our obligation as humans, no matter the mask, no matter the uniform, we have to stand up. Because believe you me, if the tide turns and it was us, we'd be begging for the same help. So let's do the right thing. Free, free, free Palestine! Free, free, free Palestine! End the genocide! End the genocide! I think I've got time for one more. That's fine, that's fine. Thank you guys. I can't understand the minds of violent men with no value for life or death. That's why I write with tears in my eyes and a fire inside my pen. I said, this is a letter to the IOF, the colonizers of white descent, the war criminals committing genocide again. I wrote this letter for the tyrants, I write to them. I ain't expecting a reply, you only lie again. Just like you lied in the propaganda you tried to spread, you occupied the land with an iron fist. You don't abide the law, it doesn't apply to you. You just do whatever Biden says. Your flag might as well be star stripes, blue, white and red. Red for all of the blood that you like to shed. It's apartheid, can't climb the barbed wire fence. How many civilians are still living in prison without even being charged of any kind of offence? The real crime is if you try to justify a genocide like it's a right I'm defending. Where's a Palestinian's right to defend when his child is dead? If that was my family, I'd want my revenge. What's a rock to a rocket from a fighter jet? How can a land that you've managed to control and occupy be any kind of threat? Why did you target Palestinian civilians from miles away and indiscriminately bomb the entire place? Israel is a terror state that I condemn. All that military money can't buy your strength. Israel is a terror state that I condemn. All that military money in the world couldn't buy your strength. For every child that you sacrifice will rise again. Fly into paradise with the widest wings. We'll try and raise a name, but Palestine's gonna rise again. Try and raise a name, but Gaza's gonna rise again. And I'ma scream free Palestine until my final breath. I wrote this to the IOF. Yeah. You'll never kill Palestine! It's always been free Palestine until my final breath. It's always been free Palestine until my final breath. I wrote this for the IOF. You'll never kill Palestine. You'll never kill Palestine. You can never kill Palestine. You can never kill Palestine. Cause Palestine's gonna rise again. Yeah. Palestine's gonna rise again. Yeah. You can never kill Palestine! It's always been free Palestine. Yeah. It's always been free Palestine. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free! From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free! From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free! From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free! Thank you, my name is Mike Righteous. Thank you for listening, thank you for turning up, thank you for showing up. Thank you to Fan It to Palestine, thank you to all the speakers once again. And if we can find the donation bucket, add a little bit of donation in there to make sure we can continue putting on these kinds of demonstrations. So yeah, thank you guys once again, get home safe, and we're going to do some chanting. Thank you, Donald, for having me. Bye everyone.